Hey, I'm here to see the Rushmore Show.
Whoa. Rushmore Show's closed.
The moose out front should have told you.
Welcome to the Rushmore Show, where it's all about your top four and nothing more. Andy, we're in week 3, July. It's a summer of Rushmores, and we've already done barbecue with Pastor Doug. We had your buddy Daniel on last week doing concerts. And this week, we're going to jump into, when I think of summer, I think of summer vacations and vacation destinations and spots. And I dream about going places. As a kid, I kind of traveled a lot as far as in the lower 48 states. And I was very fortunate with vacations, and I have a lot of memories and nostalgia built up with that. So we're going to do some Rushmores of vacations. What do you think about that? What's your experience with vacations? Are you excited for this? It looks like how's the sun out there?
Man, it is perfect. Look at this picture perfect scene that I am absolutely at. It is not it's hard to believe. It's almost too good to believe. The waves are not making any noise. The wind is not messing up the microphone. It's just perfect conditions out here in the middle of
You
summer.
look like the weather guy. Is the hurricane coming? Is it coming?
Yeah. Jim Cantori's about to come from behind the
If he shows up on the shore, we got to get,
You got to get out of here. No, I love vacations, man. And just like you, when I think of summer, man, what's one of those things that I think of? I think of going on vacation. Now, my childhood, my family was pretty much dead set on one specific location, and we wound up going to that same place from 1998 all the way up until like a year or two ago. And
I believe I've been to this spot.
You have, and I'm not going to ruin it. It'll be on my Rushmore. But just so you guys know, so we went every year, once, maybe twice a year. There was even some times where we took winter trips to this place because there was less people
Very
there.
cool.
But anyway, but a great time, man. And even in that, there have been times I have taken with my family vacations to the same spot, but also to some other places, which I will get into today. So overall, man, I love vacations. I love kind of just being able to unwind and just enjoy it with family, memories, and all of that kind of stuff that happens, stories that come from it. And I'm going to share some of those stories today too. So I love summer vacations.
I love vacations, man. I have so many memories. Some of my best memories ever were definitely on a road trip, even with friends, but a lot with my parents and family. But look, we have a guest on today. We've been doing it like this, and we have our first three-time champ of the Rushmore Show. We got Chris Edwards coming on. Chris, dude, we've had you on for a couple other things, but why on earth?
Joining us from the Golden Gate Bridge, man. San
Vacations. You're coming all the way from San Francisco. I know you've traveled the country with Elena. Tell the Rushmore about kind of some vacation situations for you. What did it look like as a kid?
Growing up, I didn't vacation much, man. I had 2 amusement parks I went to. We did San Antonio, Six Flags when I was in my early teens. And
nice, I've been there.
I got to do a senior trip when I graduated high school.
So look, man, Rushmore of vacation destinations or vacation trips, road trips. All of our trips are a little different. Thought it'd be cool to kind of do this since it's summertime and it's one of the favorite things. So without spending too much more time kind of chatting, because I know we want to jump in, let's get to the Rushmore of vacation destinations.
Let's do it.
Andy, you're going to jump in and go first. We're talking about vacations today. And look, last week we did concerts with Daniel, and I thought it'd be really cool to kind of do the concerts we went to. And then our second segment was maybe our bucket list of concerts. So today we're going to use the same format. We're going to go on vacations we've been on, ones that have invoked the memories, that have brought the nostalgia, whatever it may be, allowed us to get the best rest, the most spent time with our families and friends. And then afterwards, we definitely haven't gone everywhere in the world, and many of us we dream about where we want to go. So we're going to give a bucket list of some of the spots or vacation trips that we want to take coming up. And so, Andy, your first criteria is your own, of course, and tell us what you were thinking and where you're going with Rosie.
All right, you ready to get your mind blown on my criteria? Here it is. 2 things. Number 1, I went there. Number 2, I enjoyed it. So there it is. Okay. Wow. Okay. This is groundbreaking stuff. No. Yeah, I mean, that's really it. Here's the thing. I said in the intro, kind of, there was a place that my family stuck to. So there weren't many locations that I've gone on vacation. I've gone on vacation a lot. Happened to be to the same place a lot, but started kind of branching out with my family when I'm starting my family. So we do have a few other places. So I did wind up picking my 4, and that was really it. I went there. I enjoyed it. There's some memories and some stories that are attached to each one of these places as well that I will share as much of as I can. But we're going to go ahead and start with Rosie, my number 4, and we're going to get sentimental right off the top, guys. Okay, my number 4 is going to be Atlanta/Decula, Georgia. Okay?
Let's go. Let's go. I know that place.
For those who don't know, Kirk lives in Decula, Georgia. We go out there pretty often. Now, here's the thing. Just got back from a mission trip. There it is right there. Kirk's pointing to it. So I just got back from a mission trip. We go every year out there to Atlanta to serve with you guys. So it was good seeing you there. But I'm not counting necessarily when I go on a mission trip. I also go there for cadre advances, but I'm not counting that either. I'm talking about there's times where I go, or my family, we go and we visit you guys up there in Decula. And man, it's really kind of like where Rushmore Show was really birthed. I know we kind of started talking about it when you were living back here in Slidell, but it really kind of, I think, just went to the next level.
It definitely went to the next level sitting right over here in the kitchen.
Right here in the kitchen. And it's usually we're sitting in your kitchen eating ice cream, and it's like, all right, so what's your Rushmore of ice cream flavors, right? Which is coming up soon. Anyway, so that's, but it just started that way. So that's one of those memories that happens there. But here's the thing about vacations for me, and it speaks to this one too in Decula. I am not a fan of lists. I'm not a fan of to-dos. I just
honeydews.
To me, and I have a lot of to-dos, right? But to me, it robs the joy of like the moment of being in the moment of things. I do understand that there is a necessity to it, or else nothing would get done. But when I'm talking about vacations, some people, and I'm not knocking you if this is what you do, like to have a strict itinerary and like things that they do. And at this time we're going to be here, we're going to rendezvous at this point, and we're going to, all this kind of stuff. To me, it just becomes a job. I like, going somewhere on vacation. It's really the same for all of the places I'm going to talk about today. And just, not necessarily having a plan. Like, so we go to Decula, right? We come hang out with you guys. Usually around holiday times, Christmas, Thanksgiving. Sometimes it's just a random Tuesday, right? Random week. It just happens to work in our schedule that we come out there. And, most of the time it's sitting around the couch, hanging out with family. The one special thing we normally do is we go to Texas Roadhouse one night and somebody watches the kids. Like that's the big thing, right? And for some,
we've done a few things. Top Golf,
right? Yeah, no. And that's the thing. We do go and we do things, and go to the mall even, or go wherever. We've gone to Margaritaville and a couple different things while we've been out.
Oh yeah, you did Lake Lanier with us. Yeah, yep.
Yeah. So those are fun, and I'm not knocking those. I think they're great. But to me, it's all about just the bonding, friendship, letting the kids play with the kids, going out in the front yard, not having a lot to that we have to do, that we feel like we have to do. So that's really kind of my joy, and that's why Decula makes my Rosie of vacation spots for all of those reasons I said.
Well, a little overwhelming and humbled. Humbled that you would choose that location. We've become really close friends. The best of friends, the best of times. I mean, our families are really close. Kids are close. Zoe and Cannon, or whether it's Courtney and Brittany or whatever. Yeah, we love you guys. We love you guys coming to be a part of this. And yeah, it did birth right over here in the kitchen. But more than that, I mean, you guys are like family. I was just talking today to my niece and telling her that, I haven't been home for holidays, and not necessarily because I didn't want to or whatever, but almost every holiday we've been here, we've had some kind of guest. Right. And many times it's you, but I mean, you and your family, but we've had the Brannons, Chris has been here. We've had Courtney and Brandy and all these, we've had Monica and all these folks from the church and other friends. Next week we have some other of my family, my nephew Kyle and his family is coming up and going to watch Carson play ball. And it's not the greatest destination. It is quiet out here. It is relaxing sometimes. The traffic is absolutely crazy, but man, it is a very, very, man, it's humbling to have you would even say that. So I appreciate that.
Love that place. It's my Rosie, my number 4. So Kirk, we're going to move to you and your Rosie. Let everybody know, what is your criteria and what did you choose for your Rosie, your number 4?
So my criteria is pretty easy. Memories, nostalgia. I've always said nostalgia is probably my Rushmore of favorite feelings or words. I love the idea of nostalgic things that I can automatically see a picture, hear a song, play a game, whatever, and it brings me right back to that time frame. Time frames hanging out with my dad, friends, family, things like that. My my 4 trips, 3 of them are fairly long road trips, if you will, week, 2 weeks, even one of them's almost 3 weeks, I believe. Road trips. I was very fortunate as a kid that my dad didn't always make a ton of money. He worked his butt off in the steel working industry. He did aluminum type stuff. And the thing is he saved up his days. And here's also, if I wasn't playing ball, like for All-Stars or whatever, we would go on a vacation and he allowed me to pick a vacation. I remember as a very small kid, I remember going to certain places, at least seeing pictures. But once I became a certain age, I started picking the locations. And this first one really is important because of that. And so the first one, I'm going to choose, I got to change my hat to Disney World. But
nice.
I've been to Disney World, I think it's 4 times. I went as a kid. The one as a kid that I went with, actually with my family, has a little bit of a bad memory. One of my teammates ended up passing away tragically while I was there. That one was kind of crazy. My first trip there. The second time I went, we already just talked about it. I went as a part of my senior trip, and then I went on my honeymoon, and that's where this is from. And top hat, Brittany has one that's a bride. But the one I'm going to talk about is not necessarily the honeymoon or any of those. It's the last one we went on. And I can't wait to play in the next one because of that. The last one we went on, I brought Carson when she was 7 to go on her first trip to Disney. She had been begging. And it was perfect. Now, Andy, you say you don't like itineraries, if you will. I'm going to be honest. When it comes to Disney, I have to do the itinerary. I got to do it. It's got to be, I want to go methodically through each one of the places and not miss anything. That's just me. Now, I don't do that everywhere, but for the amusement part, I get the map. I follow it all out. I want to hit everything we possibly can to make sure we're at certain spots when we get food and all that. And so, yeah, that's the one time I do it. I think my family appreciates it sometimes, and sometimes I don't. But we went on this trip. She was perfect age to walk, not get on my back, not have to carry a backpack, not have to carry any of that stuff. We had a perfect trip, and it was the very first time, and as a family, aside Cannon wasn't there, but as a family, that we actually went on a vacation. And it's something that I really wanted to do because my dad actually did that. And so I haven't gone on a ton of vacations with my family. Carson's been playing a lot of softball. So a lot of times we're softball-cationing. We just went to Oklahoma and stuff like that. But my number 4 is definitely the very first trip. And again, it's not necessarily Disney. I love Disney World, but it's not necessarily Disney. It's the idea that I spent time on the very first vacation for our family with Carson. And we're presently planning the one for Canada. So Disney World is it for this time. So
great pick. Creepy hat. Thank you for taking it off. There it is again. You're like this weird, like 20s Depression era. I don't know what's happening. Like a weird. Anyway, great pick. Love Disney, obviously. Man, it's the happiest place on earth, right?
Yeah. So the thing about Disney is it's expensive and it's exhausting. You don't go to Disney to get rest. You go to build memories and have fun. It's never the restful vacation. And you don't come back with a pot full of money because everything's expensive.
Yeah.
So,
you're right about that.
I mean, it is what it is, but it is one of my favorite places to go, and I can't wait to go again. Chris, what about Disney for you, man? You been to Disney?
Senior trip. That's it. Elaine has been more than I have.
Oh, yeah. So look, speaking of Elena, you, my friend, are an amazing father. I kind of just have told you this before. I love the way that you, as a single dad, really are intentional about moments and memories and things with her, spending time with her. And I just had to have you on this show. When I put it out there, I knew when you said it, you're like, oh, I'll do vacation. I was like, perfect, because you've done some stellar trips. And I'm sure that maybe 1 or 2 of those or even more are going to make this. I've seen them. So
I've actually
tell
helped
me,
friends plan trips for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I see you're in San Francisco right now, looking over the bay. Tell me some of these amazing trips. What is your criteria? What's your Rosie? And go in there.
Every one of these trips that I'm about to tell you is a trip that I've been on with my daughter. As memorable as senior trip was, it just nothing I've done with my brother and my dad and friends and cousins in high school and all of that pales in comparison. So all of these are trips that I've taken my daughter on. All of them were thought out. Some of them had more strict itineraries than others, but I like to leave myself wiggle room. So I'll explain when I get to some of these other trips, because the tight itineraries will come into play. But this first one is actually, we're going back there. We're leaving on the 22nd of this month, and it's the only vacation that we're going to have a revisit of to this point. Not that we wouldn't do any of the others again. Some of them are really fresh. They involve a lot of time, and travel isn't cheap right now. So we are going to back to Pickett State Park in Jamestown, Tennessee. We went 7 or 8 years ago. Elena's 12, so she was like 5 or 6. The first time we went, we tent camped for 3 days and then drove to my sister's house that's like 3 hours away. But this time we're going, rented a cabin for us. We're going to be at the cabin for a week. They've got fishing, camping, cabins, naturally, creeks, waterfalls, caves. We saw a wild bear cub.
Just great. You hear that, Ed? Bears. Now you're putting the whole station in jeopardy.
While we were there last time, and I had to explain to her, let's get out of this area. Mama Bear's not too far away, and she does not take kindly to strangers. This time we're going, I have bear shot and bear spray in my backpack ready to go. That time, all I was armed with was a stick that I kept on when we would go hiking for snakes or something else on the trails. The kicker for this is it's also an international dark sky park, which I'm sure most people don't know what that is, but I forget the exact classification, like what qualifies these parks as that, but I know part of it has to be minimum light pollution within a certain radius of the park. So there's no city lights, no highway lights. The last hour of driving there is no cell phone service. As of last time we went, I can update this again, but you're in the woods. You might have service now. Towers have gotten more plentiful. I'm excited because last time we went, I didn't plan as well. We went during half moon. When we go this week, it's going to be during a new moon, so it's the darkest week in July. And the opportunity to see the Milky Way is going to be extremely high. Last time we went, we scoped out when we were kayaking down the creek. We saw how well placed the cabins were on the creek, and you've got a wide open area where you can just lay down on a picnic blanket and see the sky. So hopefully we'll come back with some cool sky pictures.
Nice.
I love that.
So you were right.
I've never heard of a pitch. What is it?
International Dark Sky. Yeah,
never heard of that. Never heard.
It's a silver tiered park. Most of these, so I want to say there's like a dozen of them in North America. Most of these are like Norway, Ireland, like
nice.
So out of America, but this one was the closest one without going like Pacific Northwest.
So when I was younger, like much younger, my dad had a pop-up camper, and we used to go KOA to KOA type thing. Right. I don't remember it completely. I remember like hanging out at Jellystone a couple times, but I like that kind of stuff. My wife is not into tent camping. She's open to cabin camping.
I got my TV, my Xbox, DVD, awesome bed right there. DJ Roomba's in the mix. It's like I'm not even camping.
And now that we've kind of got the RV trailer that our friends have gotten for softball, she's thinking about maybe doing something like that. But I love everything about camping. I love tent camping. I love hammocks. I love canoeing and s'mores and fires and whatever. I love that. So, Andy,
awesome.
You like being in a tent, dude?
Yeah, I'm cool with it. I haven't done it in ages though. Like, so I'm not turned off to the idea. I'm cool with doing it. Like, we used to go out to a park in like Mississippi or something. There was one we would always go to, or I say always. We went a few times when I was much younger. But man, so what I was going to say is that I'm looking forward to the rest of your list, because right now I'm writing these things down. I'm adding them to my list because looks like I was just Googling pictures of the park you were talking about, and it looks fantastic. So,
oh, dude, they've got some natural bridge formations from the rocks where the creek is run through, and like it's really cool.
TJ, Jazzy Jeff, are you going to Philadelphia, West Philadelphia, born and raised?
Have not been there.
No.
Have not been there.
Okay, so TJ, Jazzy Jeff, what's your number 3?
My number 3, and Kirk, you said earlier that
Philadelphia.
You did not think there was going to be a Rushmore, but I will say this. Obviously, it's not Chris's because I haven't been there, and obviously it's not the exact same trip because we haven't gone together. And I'm going to cheat a little bit on this one, and I'll explain why, but I'm going to pick Disneyland / Disney World. Okay, I know it's 2 locations. You know what? You can't fire me. It's the show, right? But here's the thing. I grew up. I was born in California. My dad's whole side of the family is West Coast. So when we would go visit, there's pictures of me as a young child. Now, I don't remember this. I don't remember these trips or this trip. But I remember there's pictures of me and my dad on Father's Day when I was like 3 or 4 at Disneyland. And we went back another time as a kid. But for Disney World, man, I went like you guys on my senior trip, and then since senior trip I've gone 2 times. I got to bring my family. We got to bring my youngest before she was 18 months, so she was free, which is the best time to bring them because like you said, Disney is not for the bargain hunter. So we got to bring her, got to bring the family, got to do that whole thing, meet the characters, do all that kind of stuff. But then my wife and I did not really have a honeymoon, I guess. We got to see Jay Leno perform at Beau Rivage, but that really, I'm not counting that. Yeah, that's a whole nother story in itself. But
I was wondering if you were going to do the honeymoon, and that explains why you haven't done it.
So 7 years later, we got to go to Disney.
That's right.
Just me and Courtney. It was a great time, man. And
now that wasn't too long ago, what? Right?
Yeah, 2019.
Yeah.
We went, and just a blast, to be able to go there, because there's parks, like obviously it's like kids, right? I mean, it's Disney and there's magic of it, but you think about places like Epcot. Like Epcot, there's a couple things that kids like, but for the most part, that whole going and traveling around the world and doing that kind of stuff is more for maybe teenagers and then adults and things like that and different things. So it was good to be able to go to actually have a honeymoon. But Disney, man, they pumped the smell of cookies down Main Street. It literally, like, here's what I think. And going back to the trip, and I think my favorite trip was still probably with my kids too, just because I like to see Disney through my kids' eyes. Like the wonder that my kids have in meeting a character that I obviously know is a paid employee of Disney, but they don't know any better. It is just one of the coolest moments for them to just be on cloud nine because Pluto came over and they got a picture with him, right?
So good.
It's just it's one of those things where just being able to witness that in your kids is so cool. And I mean, there were times at Disney I'm like tearing up. I'm like, golly, like this is it. I don't know what they do, but it's so magic. I mean, it's literally like it's so magical. I mean, it's so expensive, but it's so magical. And man, just a great time. So Disneyland is my, way back, just kind of things like that. But Disney World is my TJ Jazzy Jeff. And I love that place. I don't care. Look, a lot of people are, one way, you're on one side of the fence or the other about it. People are all against anti-Disney and stuff. And I'm not saying I agree with everything Disney does, but the park itself, you cannot deny how amazing it is, especially if you've got some kids that you're bringing with you too. So obviously, Kirk, I know how you like it.
I love it. I mean, I really do. I love the idea of what you said. I love seeing it through my kids. I cannot wait. I mean, like literally cannot. Like I'm beside myself thinking about going to Disney with Cannon. A little boy, like I've gone with two girls, little boy, going to Star Wars, and now that Marvel's all a part of it.
Guardians of the Galaxy is now open.
Dude, all of that, and just seeing that through his eyes, I cannot wait. So, yeah, dude, I love Disney. Good choice.
All right, Kirk, so there you go. We got a Rushmore on Disney. But let's go ahead, sort of a Rushmore. I mean, I know we didn't go together, not the exact same trip, but same location, right? So
yeah,
we'll count it.
I dig it.
So, Kirk, that means we're going to move on to your TJ Jazzy Jeff. What is the number 3? What's another destination vacation that you have loved?
So my next 3 are all really based on traveling the country and seeing baseball games. But it wasn't the main focus, because there are some things like this one might even be a little bit of a Rushmore as well. So let's just start. So this is the first trip. This is the first trip of 3 that my family took me on and kind of just traveled the country and that I can remember. And actually, this is the last one. This is the very last one. So we went. We left out of Louisiana and we went west, and we always would stop at my sister's up in Dallas, but we traveled across and we went from Texas into New Mexico. At that point, we went to Carlsbad Caverns. We then went into Arizona, Phoenix. We did the Grand Canyon, but then we came up California. And as we come up California, if I remember correctly, we tried to go to a Padres game and it didn't work out. So we skipped San Diego. We went right up to Los Angeles. And I had my parents' old neighbors. I guess like I'm not friends with my neighbors like this, but they're friends with them enough that we would go and visit them in Los Angeles. And we stayed with them for a couple days. And while we were there, here's kind of the Rushmore. We went to Disneyland for one day, but that wasn't the highlight of it. We went to Knott's Berry Farm.
Nice.
Which, if you've never been to Knott's Berry Farm, you're missing out. It's one of the best amusement parks in the country. The rides are fantastic. But we also went to probably the best baseball game, Major League wise, that I have ever been to. And sorry, Andy, but
I know where you're going.
The New York Yankees ended up beating the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. And they beat them with Don Mattingly getting his 300th or 3001 hit. Or no, it was 2001. He had hit his 2000th hit the day before, or like 2 days before. So he had the day off. And in the ninth inning, Wade Boggs gets on base, and they were down 1 run, 3-2, I believe, or something like that. Anyways, he hit a home run that went right over my head to win it. And before we went there, my neighbors, like, because they're all Angels fans, bet me $25 a piece. There were 3 of them. So I was going to win $75, if I remember correctly, and they were going to win my 25 and divide it up. Anyways, Don Mattingly, my favorite player of all time, hits a home run right over my head, wins me $75. We win the game. One of the best games I've ever been to. It was so much fun. But we left there, and then we went up. My family lives in Stockton, Sacramento area, which is a little bit more north of San Francisco. And we went up that way, and when we got there, we hung out there for a couple of days, visited my mom's family, and my cousin, I guess he's my second cousin or whatever, David, he brought me down to see the Giants play twice in the old Candlestick. And that Darryl Strawberry was on the team, Kevin Mitchell, all those guys were on the team, Will Clark, and we got to watch the San Francisco Giants play at Old Candlestick. We left there. Now you think the trip's over. Nope. We left there and went into Nevada, went all through the mountains there, the Rockies. And we went into Nevada, Colorado, all that. We stopped at Las Vegas. Now here's the funny part of the trip. So my dad gives me $100 and he says, I'm going to go gamble at the casinos. Here's $100. And there's a casino in Las Vegas called Circus. And at the bottom of Circus is like just this big arcade. And over top of the arcade is like one of those trapeze nets, and like people are doing acrobats and stuff the whole time. And I went in there and I like blew $100 by myself. Like, we wouldn't do this as kids now. You wouldn't let your 12-year-old kind of walk around Las Vegas by himself. So I went in there, I spent $100. I ended up winning a tiger, which Canon has the tiger now. I still had it. It was this tiger stuffed animal. I got it from there. But anyways, we took that. We drove back home, stopped at my sister's on the way back. So, I got to see the Angels play, San Francisco play twice. Oh, and I saw the Rangers play. We went to a couple different other things like Knott's Berry Farm or whatever. Great trip. Tons of awesome memories. Great fun times, man. So that trip is my TJ Jazzy Jeff.
There you go, man. And hey, just public service announcement. Don't let your kids roam the streets of Las Vegas.
Ever. I don't. Not even as not even as 20-year-olds or 30-year-olds. No, don't do that.
Yeah. How about you yourself? Whoever's listening right now, don't roam the streets of Las Vegas alone.
All right, Chris, tell us this amazing trip you went on with Elena. Let's go.
Woo. All right, this one's got a lot to unpack. So if I start talking really fast, I've got bullet points on a text file to make sure I get things kind of in order. So this was the first road trip we went on. Nice. And however old she was when we went on the Pickett State Park camping trip, this was the following year, and it was like the first big road trip we were doing, right? So I got with a friend of mine from when I was in elementary school. Her and her husband lived in Los Alamos or somewhere in the area. I don't remember the exact area, but we were going to meet them at the Grand Canyon and go camping there for 3 days. But to go camping at the Grand Canyon, you got to bring all the camping gear, so you can't just fly there and enjoy everything. So I started trying to get creative, and this is where the birth of me figuring out how to do road tripping as part of our vacation really worked into, like, this was the
I feel like I remember
the dawn of
you
my
planning
experience. So this took me a long time to figure out. Because of her age, I wanted to only do 8 to 9 hours of driving and have a spot for us, and then have that spot have things that she could choose to do, but I didn't have any plans for. So I knew where my drive stopped. What we did there, I didn't care as long as she had fun, right? So we left Slidell. We start heading west. We're going to the Grand Canyon, right? We stopped an hour and a half, 2 hours north of Dallas in Wichita Falls, Texas. Stayed at a hotel near Castaway Cove Water Park. What kid doesn't want to go down water slides? Wore her out. Then we go back to the hotel. We started our tradition. Jump on the bed, kid. I don't care. We're going to another one tomorrow night. So everywhere we go, it's a tradition. We get on the bed, we jump on it, celebrate our vacation.
Love that.
The beds don't love it so much. I'm a big dude. So we from there we drove. It was about 9 hours to right north of Albuquerque. I've got a buddy of mine. I would not have ever sought this gem of a place out. It's Jimenez State Park, National Park. I forget. It's on an Indian reservation. You drive on a limestone road for an hour to get to the campground. There are no streetlights. You see moths the size of your fist.
Oh my God.
Huge rabbits on the side of the road. It was crazy. When we finally get there, dude, I'm a stargazer like you, Kirk. Like we'll lay down in the driveway at my sister's in Tennessee and count shooting stars. Her and her husband used to live right next. He was the landscaper for a golf course. So there was no light there. So we would go out there and just count shooting stars. But we get to my buddy's cabin at like 2 a.m. And I get out of the car. First thing I do is look up. And I'm awestricken, dude. I've never in my life, before or since, seen a sky this beautiful. If you took a piece of white construction paper and sprinkled a full container of pepper on it and looked down at it, that's how many stars I could see. We went to the Grand Canyon, camped there for 3 days. Great sight. On the road tripping back, since we went north through Dallas, we were going to go south through San Antonio, coming home. Give us a completely different route, whole new set of sights to see. Went down Route 66, went down into southern New Mexico to see the Carlsbad Caverns. That was a great, as chill as it is in there, it was the polar opposite outside. I thought I was sunburned on the walk from the car to the entrance. It's so hot and dry. On the way back through Albuquerque, I was just gonna drive straight down to where Carlsbad is and get a hotel there. And I was like, you know what? Albuquerque's a big enough city. It was 4th of July. Let's go see if we can get a room. Dude, we got so lucky because the hotel we went to had a room left. It was a suite, and they gave it to me for the price of a queen single, or like a single bed queen. And it was a 2-queen suite on the penthouse level. And because it was a penthouse level, the card gave us access to their atrium, which was like the whole west side of the building, looking out over the city to watch all the fireworks shows on the 4th of July. On the 4th of July, they have their annual hot air balloon celebration. So I don't know how well that works with people shooting rockets and you've got hot air balloons flying, but whatever.
Target practice. Yeah, that doesn't sound fun at all.
Speaking of hot air balloons, they had a hot air balloon festival here in Decula not long ago.
Really? While we were there, I visited the Breaking Bad filming locations in Albuquerque. Once you get to Texas, it wasn't like that's basically where vacation was over. And it was like, all right, journey home, Carlsbad Caverns. I drove as far east as I could until I was tired. We got a hotel. I don't even remember where it was. Ate some breakfast the next morning. Finished the drive home. Oh, all in all, it was like a 10-day road trip with 3 days spent at the Grand Canyon.
Dude,
Nice.
that's killer. I'm jealous. I want to do that again. I want to do that kind of stuff. Carlsbad Caverns, excellent. The hole in the wall, the hole in the ground. Yeah, love that too. It was
Oh,
great
I
to
forgot
see.
about that Crater Rock. Yeah.
So look, halfway, man, halfway through this mountain. I'm waiting to see somebody tell us that they went to Mount Rushmore, but halfway through the mountain. Andy, what's your link, dude?
Yep. Link number 2. Okay, so this is the one trip that I've been to one single time. But it is a place I am dying to go back to. So much memories and stories from this trip. And the place I'm talking about is Lake Tahoe. Lake Tahoe is
Were you
just
13?
country. It is amazing. 2013, we went out there. Oh, there you go. 2013, we went out there for a family reunion. At that time, we were planning these once every other year or so family reunion with my dad's side of the family, so kind of West Coast. And this year was South Lake Tahoe. So where California and Nevada do this little number right here, it's in that little at the angle right there. But we went there kind of in between California and Nevada every day. You can just drive back and forth to this place. Man, it is beautiful out there. It is just fantastic. There was a day we spent at Zephyr Cove, this little beach area that's right there. And I'm telling you, this water, so deep, but crystal clear the entire way down. Like, it's not something you see here, Gulf Coast, right? You don't go down to anywhere local here and see water that is this crystal clear. So amazing. We went out there when we flew in. We had to fly into Reno, Nevada, so that was kind of a cool. We spent one day in Reno. Got to go to the casinos. I got to take a picture at the the famous sign, the biggest small town in the world or in the USA, something like that. We got to take a picture at that. Going to these casinos, kind of watch these shows for the one night, and then we drove into Tahoe the next day. Had a cabin, a couple little cabins that our family got to stay at. Just a great time. And one of the most memorable stories that from Lake Tahoe is this. Now, you got to realize, okay, I'm Louisiana, right? I'm used to below sea level. Okay, we are sea creatures here. That's just who we are. We go there, and at this one place we go to, we're talking. I think I just Googled it because I don't remember, but Lake Tahoe is like 6,000 feet elevation already. And then you've got these other like mountains and things you can go up on and just all this stuff. So we took this one trip one day that we took like the lift up to it or whatever. And we're up there and we were just feeling lightheaded, right? Courtney's there with me. She is not feeling good. She's feeling nauseous. But again, it's the elevation. We're used to being underwater basically. Well, come to find out, the nausea that she was feeling was not due to the elevation. It was due to the fact that we were expecting Zoe, right? So we found out that Courtney was pregnant with our firstborn because we thought it was just nausea and sickness from the elevation. And we're out there with our family, like get a pregnancy test at some like little gas station or little convenience store or something. She finds out she's pregnant there. We're not telling anyone, right? So the rest of the trip, it's like that movie where they have to keep a secret. It's just it felt like a movie, right? So like we didn't tell anybody, but we wound up telling one of my aunts, and
she shared it like wildfire, huh?
Right, yeah. So, but she didn't, And then I remember we bought a onesie in Lake Tahoe because we were like, how are we going to tell parents? Let's do something, whatever. And so we bought a onesie. It's like it said something about grandparents, little something, whatever. I don't know. And we brought that home, and we gave it as a gift. I'll never forget this. We gave it as a gift to my mom. And she was like, "Oh, cool! So for when you guys have a baby, then we'll be able to use it." Like totally, just how does that go over your head? We're like, "Mom, like what? No, we're pregnant, right?" Like so. It was just this. It was a cool moment. But Lake Tahoe, man, it is a place that I'm dying to go back to. Such a beautiful place. Really kind of a cool little town area. I remember there was this. In Zephyr Cove on the beach, there was this little shack where you could buy food at. And there was a like smoked pork belly taco or something crazy like that.
Bro, I'm
It was like
thinking about that now.
it was like some of the best food I ever had. But man, just I love it. 2013, got to go out there, got to go to Tahoe and spend a week with some family, and really got to bring home one of the best gifts, right? And find out that I was going to be a dad in Lake Tahoe. So pretty crazy. So, any of you guys ever been to Tahoe?
Dude, I think I've been to Tahoe when I was younger. Like that was one of those trips my dad, we went to California quite a bit. My mom was born and raised out that way, and we had family in Colorado. So we went out that way when I was younger. I've heard stories about traveling road trips like in Volkswagens with no floor in it because it rusted out, or like station wagons with no seat belts, and I'm jumping back and forth through, hours of drive. There's a picture of me in Colorado, like in an outhouse standing on top of the toilet. Like there's things from when I was little. I know we went there. We did Yellowstone. And I think Tahoe might've been on one of those trips. But I haven't been there where it's a core memory, like where I can really remember it. But it looks beautiful,
Yeah, it's probably the most beautiful place that I've been to.
Chris, you been to Tahoe?
Negative.
I've rode in a Tahoe.
Yeah, there you go. Not quite the same experience as Lake Tahoe, but right. I guess sometimes it's as close as you get.
Yeah, I think I want to go to Tahoe, man.
Let's plan a trip. Let's do it. I want to get back so bad. So hey, let's move on to your link. Where are we at? Where are we going now for our next trip?
So my link and my George, I think I can alternate back and forth. They're two of my favorite things I've ever done in my whole life, and I'm going to go this direction because this one could easily be my George. It could easily be that. But so the year that we went to California and we did all that, the very year before that, the very year directly before that, we took probably the grandest road trip I've ever been on. First off, we left out of New Orleans. We go straight up. We hit Texas again. My sister lived there, so we always stopped there. We saw Nolan Ryan pitch, right? So there you go. Nolan Ryan, Rangers, saw him pitch. We go up from there. I don't know why we didn't stop at St. Louis in Missouri, but we kept going. We went all the way to Chicago. In Chicago, the goal at that time, I was a huge Frank Thomas fan. If you go back and watch baseball, you'll notice White Sox was one of those 4 teams on my mountain. I was a huge Frank Thomas fan, and Bo Jackson had just kind of come over and played with them. And we go to the New Comiskey Park, New Comiskey. So this must be 92, whenever the New Comiskey was, 92, 93. And Frank Thomas hit a home run over my head. Not like Mattingly did. Mattingly put it like bleachers behind me. Like it was like right here over my head. And the guy, it was in the home run. It was in the beginning, like batting practice, right? And I reach up to grab it, and this guy stands on the chair behind me and grabs Frank Thomas's home run ball that I'm about to catch. And again, I'm like, so if I was 13 or 14 that time, I was probably 11 or 12 at this time. And I've never seen my dad so ticked off in my life. Like I've never seen him lose his cool like that, screaming at this guy as he runs up the stairs with the Frank Thomas ball. We ended up going, we watched that game and saw the White Sox. And then the next day we tried to go to Wrigley, but we saw Wrigley. We went around it, but Wrigley only had standing room only tickets. Now you have to remember, this is early 90s, the internet wasn't booming or whatever. Like we can buy tickets. Like you had to go to the box office and see if they had tickets, right? Or you had to like call and order them or whatever. And so we show up, we go to the stadium, we go to buy tickets at the stadium at the box office. And they said, we have tickets, but they're standing room only. And my mom was like, I don't want to do standing room only and for a whole game, 3 hours. And apparently you were going to be behind a pole or something. So we ended up going somewhere else for that particular portion of the trip. We ended up going up into Wisconsin, so kind of up in more westerly into Wisconsin, and we went to Six Flags in Wisconsin, and some of the greatest roller coaster I've ever been on. But then we came back and we went into Detroit, and look, the rumors of Detroit, I mean, this is in the early 90s. The rumors of Detroit are true. I can remember as a young, it is a pit stop, dude. It is it is a hellhole. I remember the roads were terrible, everything, but we went to the Tiger Stadium. Batting practice, saw Cecil Fielder hit it out the stadium. That was just mind-blowing. We leave out of there, go into Canada. And drive from Canada all the way around, come back down in through New York, through Niagara Falls. We went to some park in Canada, got money, Canadian money, but we come into Niagara Falls, saw Niagara Falls. That place is gorgeous. And then my mom really wanted to go up towards Maine to Kennebunkport. And if you guys know anything about Kennebunkport, that's kind of where the president goes whenever, I don't know, when there's danger or wherever he goes on vacation. He wants to go to Kennebunkport. So my mom wanted to go drive by there, and it's absolutely nothing. So we went in Maine, went up to like Portland, Maine, or whatever it is, and saw all the lobster and crab places, and then went down through Kennebunkport, went through Boston, and got to New York. We went to a Yankees game, and that was at this time the third time I've seen the Yankees, and then which was awesome. And then we were going towards Baltimore, and my dad did. This is one of my biggest regrets ever. I think I might have said it in the baseball episode. My biggest regrets ever was the Baltimore Orioles were playing the Seattle Mariners, early 90s. And I said, man, those two teams are terrible. I don't want to see either one of those. We went to Philly. Philly wasn't there, but we did go see Betsy Ross's house, all kinds of stuff in Philly, the Liberty Bell, all that kind of stuff. Went to Washington, D.C., saw some stuff there. And then when we got to Atlanta, this is the best part. Not the best part, but it's the funny part. This is a long trip. I mean, we were on the road for like 2.5 weeks, right? And then we're coming in. It's a long trip. My mom is exhausted. She's tired. And she tells my nephew, I will pay you guys $75 a piece or $100 a piece. I just remember it being quite a bit for a little kid. I'll pay y'all both like $75 if we do not go to this dang Braves game. Because that was the key. We were going to go to the Braves game. She just wanted to go home. So we ended up going home. I remember like we went through like almost every state. And if you count all the other trips, the only state we had to go into that we weren't in, I believe, was Indiana, right? And so when we were coming up towards Indiana, we stopped at a gas station right there in the corner. And I remember I ran across the line into a field and peed out into somebody's like farm just so I could say I was in Indiana. So then there in Atlanta, we drove all the way back home, and man, it was just a long road trip. We saw 1, 2, 3, 4 baseball games. We skipped 2 of them, saw all kinds of landmarks, just all kinds of cool things. Went into Canada. The only time I've been there. Canada's beautiful, by the way, at least in the summertime. So yeah, that's definitely probably, it could easily be my George. It was just so many things happening. It was a sensory overload with all kinds of things. I remember just coming home with tons of souvenirs and whatever. But yeah,
so a northeast road trip, man. You hit everything. I'm trying to think like what's left to go on a trip to. Like you literally between 3 of them have almost gone to every state. So.
All right, man, that is a great trip that we've gone on. I mean, we're rolling right down these mountains. Chris, tell me, what is your link, man? I can't wait.
So this is where it gets tough. I am going to talk about another kind of road trip. It started as a flight to Denver. So this is another, I was trying to avoid wasting road trip time driving through states we've already been to and maximize what we could do. So we flew into Denver and met a buddy of mine that actually teaches English in China. He came back and his dad owns more than a handful of acres in Pueblo, Colorado, south of Denver, right? So we fly into Denver and immediately the road trip starts. We drove from Denver into the Rocky Mountains. My daughter got to hit me in the face with a snowball in the middle of July.
Wow.
So I had to I'm like, you see that pile of snow? I'm like, none of your friends are going to get to hit their dad in the face with a snowball over the summer. Your summer vacation has a 1-up on them right off the bat. Then we drove to Grand Teton National Park. I don't know if you're familiar. It's directly south of Yellowstone. You have to drive through this park to get to Yellowstone. So we were right on the outside, the south outside of Teton, and we were in a cabin right on the edge of a mountain range. Right outside of that cabin was a 4-way road. You went in the Teton, or you could go in 3 directions. So the 3 days we stayed there, we spent going in each direction for maybe an hour drive. Go find something to do down the road, see the sights. Saw herds of buffalo and just all kinds of coolness. Rode through that park, rode through Teton National Park into Yellowstone, stayed in Yellowstone, and they call them cabins. When you rent them, they're hotels. They're just like college dorms. They're like college dorms. You don't want to spend much time in them anyway, so complaining about it is not what's happening here. It's slightly more than a prison cell, but you don't want to be there. So we stayed in Yellowstone for 3 days, and 3 days is probably the minimum to do everything comfortably. We drove a third of the circle every day and saw as many sights as we could. At the end of every day, we were exhausted and we didn't see everything. Lots of trails, naturally, because trees get knocked down, and just you're dealing with Mother Nature. Crazy things happen all the time. This trail gets shut down for a period of time. This trail's open that wasn't open this time last year. All kinds of craziness. So you could go multiple times like Disney and not see everything. Really, really lots of beauty. Old Faithful was an amazing thing to see. Everything's awesome there. Like it definitely make that one of your, if that's not on your bucket list, it needs to be. We left from there, went out the northwest side of Wyoming into Montana, and then drove through there to Ouray, Colorado. I don't know if you've ever been to this area of Colorado. It's like there's a handful of cities on this road, and it's nicknamed $1 Million Road. It's a town that's barely bigger than Old Town Slidell, and it's in the valley of like a trio of mountains. We also went to another ski town called Telluride and Silverton, and then from there we stayed at my buddy Mike's house 5 days in Pueblo, riding 4-wheelers, bonfires, cooking, relaxed family time. It was like the perfect end to the vacation of all this energy getting put out and doing everything to just finally be somewhere, relax, wake up when you wake up.
All right. Hey, we have made it to George.
Now look,
road trip.
I'm pretty sad, Andy. I was thinking about this. You used Decula as your Rosie. So I mean, the bar is like really high.
Right.
So I mean, I don't know what could be better. 3 times better. Three times better than Decula.
Well, here you go, man. I'm gonna do this. This is the place that I talked about that my family made an annual pilgrimage to every year. We would go to this spot, and none other than, and I'm actually going to be technical. So it is Gulf Shores, Alabama, but we would stay on the Fort Morgan side. So my pick's going to be Fort Morgan, Alabama as my George. Are there better beaches in the world? Yes, 100%. Are there more touristy attraction, awesome things to do with your family in the world? Yes, 100%. But this, Fort Morgan, Alabama, is my beach. This is where I grew up. Like I said, starting back in 1998, my family started going out there at least once a year. We would spend a week out there, and the beach, as you can tell where I'm at right now, the place this is my location. The beach is my happy place, and I am so much of a beach bum, man, when it comes to going out there. And what I love about the beach, I shared about it in my Decula pick, was that I like to go there and have nothing to do. I just literally want to, and my kids aren't as big of a fan of it because kids just want to do a bunch of different things.
The pool.
They want the pool.
The 7 pools.
And I can do the pool. The pool's fine, but my family every year we would go out to Gulf Shores Plantation right there in Fort Morgan. My grandmother owned a condo out there, so like for years I don't pay for vacations, right? Like other than like my food and gas and things to get up there, like to actually stay a place seems so foreign to me. And obviously blessed to have that opportunity, but man, I could literally just take a chair and maybe a tent or an umbrella and go set it up there on the beach and bring an ice chest full of like sandwiches and snacks and whatever and things like that and just sit out there all day. I mean that is my vision of just a perfect vacation. I like to relax. I like to like fall asleep on the beach for a little while and then wake up and be like, oh wait, yeah, now it's time to wake up. We would go with my dad. We would always go boogie boarding, skim boarding, things like that. We would love to do that stuff. So we'd go out into the Gulf and swim out there. You mentioned the pools, right? This specific location, there were so many different pools. There's indoor pools, outdoor pools, hot tubs, all kinds of fun things to do while you're out there. And you're on the beach, like so. That's the other thing is that this condo, this specific place that I was, right on the beach. Daniel Eller actually talked about it last week, the Hangout Festival. So it's not far from the old Gulf Shores downtown type of area. And man, I love it so much. It became part of like who I was. Now, here's the thing. The condo, and I talked about it last week. This is the place that I stayed at where there was the horrible shrimp smell. You talked about that there was chicken wallpaper, like
dogs on the closet.
My grandparents owned it, and here's the thing: it's
furnishing was kind of,
but it was just the leftover things they had at their house that was storage, right? So, but to me, it's not about the room that you stay in because we're going to be out of the room anyway, right? Like. I'm going to be sitting on the balcony. I'm going to be on the beach. We're going to be in the pools. We're going to be playing the games. Like they've got tennis courts. They got shuffleboard. They've got basketball court. All of these amazing things to do. And also, actually, going back a little while, they had an arcade. They used to have an arcade. Kirk, you've been with me to this place, and I don't know if the arcade was up when you guys and your family came with us on vacation out there, but I talked about in my arcade games, one of mine on my Mount Rushmore was the WrestleMania game, and I forever remember playing that at the condo, like at the beach. Gosh, going to the souvenir shops right there, the one with the big shark that you go into the shark's mouth to enter, or the giant purple octopus. Here's the big thing. It was always about family out there. And that was to me like going since 1998, going with my parents and stuff, and just having those memories that we developed and we built right there on the beach. So many of my stories, so much of my upbringing really just kind of happened there at Fort Morgan. And then also, hey, it's called Fort Morgan. If you go down the road a little bit, there's a fort you can go to. So really cool thing. You can take the ferry right there to Dauphin Island. I mean, you're so many cool, amazing, fun things to be able to do out there. And over the past 10 years, they've added even more, right? So you go out to Orange Beach, which is, maybe 20 minutes from there. And there's so many different things that you get to do. We've gone before Kirk, when Carson played the World Series out there. So get to kind of enjoy some time with you guys and make some memories out there too. But when I thought about this list of vacations, this was immediately my George, immediately my number one because of all those reasons, because I grew up there, because of all of the memories, all of the nostalgia, everything that's associated with it. Recently, my grandmother sold that condo, so it's kind of a big piece of my...
Yeah, I think we were one of the last ones to stay there, right?
Yeah, big piece of my life.
And we actually contemplated on purchasing it. I mean, we were like...
I can't tell you how many people I've contemplated purchasing that place with. Like, it was so hard to let go of that place, but I get it. It's not cheap to own a place right there on the beach in Fort Morgan.
Great pick, man. I love that place. It's a fun place. Let me jump into my George Steinbrenner of trips here. My George, if you will. Hey, look, when I was a youngling and I was a fan of the Yankees, they were terrible at that time. I loved Don Mattingly, followed him. I wanted to see Dave Winfield, Willie Randolph, all that. My dad taught me about the Yankees, wanted me to be like Mickey Mantle. I mentioned a lot of this in the baseball episode. And it came to a time where my dad said, I got drafted. I wish I was drafted. I got picked, selected to play in the All-Star game or the All-Star tournaments and kind of travel with the local team there. And my dad asked me, do you want to go on vacation or do you want to play ball this year? And I said, well, it kind of depends on what the vacation is. And I mentioned, would it be possible to go see the Yankees play? And he made it happen. And so my George of trips was my very first time to Yankee Stadium. I've never been to the new Yankee Stadium, which is a detriment. But so here's the trip, man. And it's not nearly as long as a road trip, but it is quite a journey. We left out of Louisiana and we went straight across the country. And it's another driving road trip. And we drove up, through Mississippi, Tennessee, Kentucky, all the way up. And we stayed in Roanoke, Virginia. That night at the hotel, have you ever seen The Jerk, guys? Y'all seen The Jerk?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. It was just like The Jerk. People were knocking on the doors, alarms going crazy, fire alarms going off.
I said, oh, Lord Jesus, it's a fire.
A part of the hotel attached to it was like a mom and pop Waffle House type thing, like big greasy, big easy, and it had a grease fire. And so like 2, 3 in the morning, we're all evacuated, standing out in the parking lot, watching the front end of the hotel burn. That was crazy. So that was in Roanoke, Virginia. Actually, I tried looking that thing up, probably about a year ago, and see if I could find any history or like a newspaper article on it. I couldn't find it. But I mean, as clear as day, it happened, right? And my nephew went on my last trip, and I believe he went on this trip too. And my nephew Kyle. And
last week he went to a few concerts with you that we talked about.
He did. I mean, me and Kyle were best friends. He was the best man at my wedding. One of the things that I remembered, Chris, you were talking about one of y'all's traditions with Elena was that you would jump on the bed. And I'll never forget this. It's it's a core memory. It's one of those things. It's what I love about nostalgia and trips. I love just remembering this and going right back to that moment. I remember watching the Yankees playing in the hotel. We had just got there. I turned the TV on to watch the Yankees play. It was like the day before, it was the game before. And my dad comes in from getting all the stuff out, and he like kind of went to the bed and jumped up as high as he could. I mean, he was at that time, he was probably mid 50s, almost 60, mid 50s, probably. And he jumped on the bed and landed flat on his back. Right. And it must have been the hardest dang bed in all of Virginia or whatever. It was like a rock. And I think he broke his back. I mean, it was the funniest thing. I remember dying laughing, and my dad being so furious at me and my nephew, and just flipping out on us because he went to go jump in this bed and it was not soft at all. And he hurt himself. But look, we left there. We went up to New York. I saw all the New York things, right? Statue of Liberty, downtown around Broadway and all that stuff, and kind of did that thing and seen all that. And then we went to Empire State Building, and this was pre 9/11. So saw the Twin Towers and all that, and went to a Yankees game, took the subway to the Yankees game. So you had to do that, man. We got to take the sub and kind of did that, went to the Yankees game. And dude, just being in the cathedral of MLB at that time, I mean, just a place that Ruth walked, man, like going into Monument Park and seeing all that was just mind blowing to me as a young kid. And then the next day we traveled upstate New York, and we went to Cooperstown, New York, and went to the Baseball Hall of Fame. And we stayed. Our hotel was really crazy. We stayed in this person lived above like a grocery store or like a department store there. And I remember staying up in one of their side rooms, and that was what we rented to stay in Cooperstown. Went and visited we saw Abner Doubleday Field, which is the first, he's the guy who started baseball. It's kind of the field that they thought might have planted it and learned the game. And then we walked the Hall of Fame. And at that time, I mean, it's early 90s, so tons of people weren't in it that we know, but it was a great experience. I was in awe, right? And then we left there, obviously, and we had to come back home. But instead of coming directly home, we went south and we went to Washington, D.C. And we stayed in Washington, D.C. for probably about 3 days, maybe 2-3 days. And we visited all those monuments, Lincoln and Washington and the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. And we had already seen some of that, I had already talked about some of that in my last one, but that was a later trip. So we didn't do as much in Washington, the trip that I just mentioned, but this one we did almost everything. We went to all the museums. My favorite one was the Natural History Museum, and I got a picture of the tiger jumping out. And the Aviation Museum was cool, and seeing all the planes and just being on the lawn there and seeing the White House and all that. And there's like this. If you've never been there, there's like just a long stretch of grass where like you can see like everything, and people are just like throwing frisbees and their dogs and riding bikes. I haven't been there in several years. But it was a part of the trip, and then we left Washington and came back home. And so my George of trips, obviously first time that I had ever gone on at least a road trip that was it for me, right? We've gone on road trips before, but I kind of picked out that I wanted to do New York and see all that. And Yankee Stadium, Hall of Fame, and basically everything in there in Washington. So
nice. Great trip, man. I'm envying some of these road trips, man. So sounds fun. Again, like I said, probably pretty difficult to do nowadays. So,
all right, Chris, what is the best trip? And I think I know where you're going because you haven't said it yet. What is the best trip that you've gone on with Elena? Come on.
Well, my George of the Jungle is the trip that I did last summer with Elena. We flew out to Seattle, drove directly to Astoria, Oregon.
What is so important out there, dude?
We proceeded to see. So before I go into everything we did, this entire trip started because of Netflix and a COVID lockdown. So we didn't get to take a trip in 2020. So I was like, we're flipping through, because you watch everything on Netflix. I'm trying to find something to watch because we've seen everything. And I'm like, oh, check this out. They've got this documentary called The Last Blockbuster. So we start watching it.
That's a great documentary.
Dude, it's so awesome. And so we're watching it, and she's like, "Y'all really did this on the weekends?" And I'm like, kid, like you're spoiled. You get to just, oh, this new movie came out 3 months ago. Like when back then, Spider-Man would come out, and then you didn't get to see it again for a year. So I explained that to her, and I'm like, man, you really are gonna miss the opportunity to ever experience that. That's a shame. And I was like, but it's the last blockbuster in the world. Would you want to do that for the vacation? So that blockbuster documentary kicked off this entire vacation plan. Huh. So now I was like, okay, where is this place at? It's in Bend, Oregon. Doesn't have an airport, in Bend, Oregon. So I'm like, all right, what can we do in driving distance? And I start looking up stuff, and naturally it's Blockbuster. So I'm like, what movie scenes could we go see? So Astoria is only a short drive, a handful of hours away from Bend. And Astoria was the filming location for the Goonies.
Yes, come on.
Truffle Shuffle, baby!
Guys!
The Twilight Beaches, where they filmed for the Indian Reservation, and the Kindergarten Cop Elementary School is also in Astoria.
Who is Daddy and what does he do?
It's not a Duma.
It's not a Duma. Boys have continue.
So that kicked off the planning. As soon as I saw that it was within driving distance of going to see the Goonies house, I was like, okay, I'm sold. What else can we do in this area? I start planning what other film locations are within driving distance on this trip. Because of the COVID protocols and everything, I didn't want to initially plan driving any further, like too far south. We eventually wound up, once we got there and saw how relaxed the protocols had become, you still needed masks, but you didn't have to, like, you could do things again. So we wound up getting tickets like 2 weeks before to go see an Athletics and Giants game in San Francisco. But we on the road trip, not only road tripping down the West Coast from Astoria to Seattle, we stopped at the Redwood Forest and stayed in a cabin for 2 days. We saw Twilight film locations, Goonies, Overboard, Stand By Me, the train trestles where they cross in Stand By Me, the Full House, the Chinatown entrance in Big Trouble in Little China. The Golden Gate Bridge, Alcatraz. But yeah, man, it was just basically what movie locations can we go see? It was an amazing trip. It's my George for the nostalgia factor. A lot of these movies I grew up on. Goonies is one of my favorite movies.
Nice.
The road trip was phenomenal. If you could ever get to just Astoria, I would highly recommend it. The views are crazy. I was worried at driving in there on the coast. It had, like, when I saw my first tsunami warning zone sign, I was just like, what the heck did I get myself into? Because
there's a whole different kind of natural disaster over there. Tsunamis, earthquakes,
Yeah. When I saw, I'm checking into the hotel, I'm like, how serious are those signs that say tsunami zone? Because I might want to go stay up the hill.
Well, awesome, man. Hey, that is a great pick going up there, Washington area. Look, we made it. We made it through.
We built some mountains, and there was some funny rock formations with faces on it. And we talked about a few mountains and beaches and great time, man. Dude, this is what I've learned. We need to plan some more vacations, and we got some things to do, man. So with that being said, our last segment here, we're going to jump into a bucket list, if you will, of some places that we want to go. Right. So
right. Let's do it.
All right, Andy. So we kind of chatted, and we thought, gosh, we've been on these vacations, but obviously just hearing some of the things Chris has done, I kind of want to do that. Yeah. Maybe hearing some of the things I've done or some of the things you've done. Like we just want to do that. And I'm sure in the comments, we're going to see all kinds of places that people went. I mean, we have such a wide fan base of ages and people and where they're from. I can only imagine some of the vacations. So top four, we're going to do top four, I guess. We'll just name all four immediately and just be like, boom, 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 of places, bucket list style, kind of like perfect vacation, what you want to do, right? So, Andy, I'll let you go first.
Yep. So a couple of places that you guys mentioned that are actually on my bucket list of places.
Really?
So it was kind of cool to hear you guys talk about those, but this was not one of them. One of the places that I want to go. Now, let me say this. I have this desire to do a missions trip in every continent, but I'm not counting missions trips. Okay, so that's not what I'm counting. Is that I actually have the privilege this November to go out to Argentina, so that'll be a really cool time to be able to do that. But
visit Luis.
I'm going to visit Luis. A couple people, Pastor Ken's leading a trip here from Journey out there, so very excited about that.
That sounds fantastic.
I could have listed those places, but I didn't want to do that because missions trip, vacation, totally different things. But here's the one foreign one that I do have on my bucket list here. I have this desire to go to Greece. I really want to go out there to Greece. I want to, you see those just pictures of the water out there, but then you look at like all of just the ancient like structures and just really cool history that's behind a lot of that stuff. Greece is one of those places to me that I just absolutely have to go to. And I'm sorry, I mentioned that it was the one foreign place, but I'm going to go to my second foreign place. I had to look down at my list to fact check myself. But a place that I have a huge desire to go to is I want to go to Jerusalem. I want to take a trip out there. I think it's just one of those ones that, as a Christian, just kind of, one of those places that, we do in our district. They take trips out there fairly regularly. One of those places that I totally want to see. I read the Bible and I love it and I live it and everything. But to actually go there and step in the places where these things were taking place, I think would take it to a different level for me. So I have this real desire to go to Jerusalem. So Greece, obviously, hey, parts of the Bible too, parts of the New Testament are taking place there as well. So just a lot of that kind of tie in between those two places. That's two of them. The other two are going to be places here in the United States. I want to go to New York. I really want to make a trip out there and New York City, obviously, Times Square, that whole
New York City.
There's all of these things, like totally want to do those things. But like, even like when you look at like, other areas of New York that maybe aren't as popular, just beautiful, beautiful places out there. So the whole state of New York, I'd like to just kind of to run through that whole area there. And then fourth, finally, hey, it wouldn't be the Rushmore Show without me saying I need to go check out Mount Rushmore. I'm going to make the confession. Look, we have the Rushmore Show, and the reason for the title is the top four presidents, right? But I've never been there. I haven't been there. So I think that would be a crazy, awesome trip to be able to go out there. I do have a good friend of mine who went out there relatively recently within the last year or so and said it was just super awesome, really cool, like trails and stuff and just different things that you could do there. And also, I heard the Declaration of Independence is hidden in there. So we're going to go
Nicolas Cage stole it.
No, but anyway, so that's my top four. We got Greece, we have Jerusalem, I've got New York, and I've got Mount Rushmore, right? Fitting that we would do that.
Wow. Wow.
Kirk.
So look, you really, there are a couple ones that you said that I probably want to put on my list. They're not there. I'll touch on those when I get there. But number one, and I kind of alluded to this in the trips I've been on, I really want to see every major league park in all of the United States.
Yeah.
And I would love to do that with my kids. And that's just throwing that out there. But the first leg of that trip, I've planned out and I've wanted to do it. And it's something very similar to what I've done. I planned it out a couple of years ago and then COVID happened and then we just kind of backed off, and obviously travel is crazy. But I planned out a trip that would go from here to New York and back, and within like a 2-week frame, and we would stop at every major city for a day or two, whether it's Charlotte, Philly, Pittsburgh, New York, kind of just going up and maybe seeing a couple of, Baltimore, seeing a couple of the games on the way, or even the sites. There's so many sites up that Eastern coast, but like to mainly get to the new Yankee Stadium and actually get to see that again. And we could always take a flight in and probably check a game out. But I would love to make my way there and see the new Yankee Stadium with my kids, man. And it's not always like your kids are the same fanatics of you, but my kids are starting to like the Yankees a lot, which is unfortunate for all of you. They are we winning or whatever? And of course they're winning. So yeah, I'd love to bring them down there or up there. And that's number one on the trip. Now, I've been to most of the United States and I've been to most of those places. Obviously I would love to finish out the whole map if I figure it all out, but my other three are really foreign. I mean, they're going to be foreign just because I've seen most of the United States as kids. So number one, and I guess you could kind of make this as one kind of trip, but the places are basically Greece, like you said, Rushmore, or Crushmore, if you will, Greece. I mean, I'd love to just see the idea of the old civilization, Parthenon and Colosseums and all that. So Greece, Rome, and Paris, right? Within that Europe trip, but Greece and Rome mainly, just to see the history of like old mythology, just the way, the aqueducts and all those amazing art and just those things are just amazing. So my two would be Rome and Greece, right? If you will, knocking out like one kind of like Europe trip. But and I may be cheating by doing that, but like that, I want to just see that whole area right there of just that kind of stuff. Australia and New Zealand. This is a thing that I've thought of my whole life. I mean, watching Lord of the Rings, watching King Kong, watching all these films that are filmed over there. I mean, even Crocodile Dundee, man. Like, it's a place I would love to just go out on the outback. And I hear New Zealand is like maybe the most beautiful place in the world. But I mean, there's just so much out there that I want to see, wildlife and the culture, but kind of in that area. And I'll finish off my bucket list mountain of probably the place I want to go to the most. My love of video games. We talked about it last month. Has brought up this place, and I wanted to go to this place while I was in the military. I tried getting stationed there. I want to go to Japan. I want to go to Japan so bad. I want to go see all the new stuff, right? It's like just booming in technology and stuff, but I would love to go see the old stuff, like feudal Japan, like shoguns and samurais and just all of the history of martial arts and stuff that are happening there. Obviously, I'd love to do China. It's harder to get in, but Japan, there's so many things about Japan that I want to see, whether it's anime or old Godzilla flicks, things like that. Now, one of the things that I mentioned, I was kind of jealous on your list, Chris, and obviously Mount Rushmore. I can't believe I didn't think about that. But I have been there. I have been there as a kid. I know I've been there. But maybe we got to plan a trip there. We need some pictures from that. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
But is Jerusalem and Israel and all of that? Gosh, I feel a little less spiritual than you right now. I do want to do that. I do want to do that, and I just didn't think about it.
You would rather Japan because the video.
But I would rather Japan. I would go see. I don't know, Taoism and Buddhism or whatever. But I would love to do that too. But it's bucket list top 4. Obviously, back to the baseball cathedral, and then we'll go to the old Roman cathedral, and then the Outback Cathedral. I don't know. I'm being silly. But yeah, man, that's my bucket list right there.
Nice. I like it. Good. Chris, what's your bucket list, man?
Whew. All right. I feel like I'm cheating. So
it's okay. We all do.
Cheat away, dude.
So naturally, I got to finish the 50 states. I'm at like 24 to 26. Whatever I'm at, Elena's +1. So before she becomes drinking age adult, I intend on having all 50 states visited with her. So I've got 9 years to finish the other half of the country. Not bad considering these have only started within the past 6 years. So naturally finishing out the 50 states is on my bucket list. And then I'm done with the states. I'll have seen everything I wanted to for the most part. Next would be extremely exotic. I want to go to the Galapagos Islands.
Nice.
I am fascinated by the wildlife that's there. The first time I saw a documentary on it, I fell in love with it. I don't know that I'll ever drop that much money on a vacation. But when you make a bucket list, you dream big, right? And
money is not an option.
That's right. So Galapagos Islands. I work remotely, so it could happen as long as they have internet there. And Elon Musk might help make that happen with his Starlink.
There you go.
So then I've got a European tour, much like you two. I want to go see I want to be in the culture. I don't want to rush the trip and have to spend 2 weeks and get back to go to work. I want to go like not be a tourist there. I want to see what it's like. Go like spend a legit day in and around the Colosseum. I I've been a huge fan of Spartacus and Gladiator since I was very young. It's just fascination. I would love to go see. Naturally, Greece. The list is too, like, I feel like if you take a 2-week trip, you're not doing it justice. There's too much to see. You're much like you, Andy. I don't want to throw an itinerary where I've got to cross off 75 things to see the 11 I want to see.
Right. Yeah.
I want to go, you know what? I can work remote. I'm going to spend as much time here. I want to be here for an extra week. I'm just going to stay an extra week, So that covers my first 3. And then my last one, as you can tell, I'm a fan of road trips. However, this goes back to how it all started. I want to look at the sky. I want to go to Iceland during the winter when the aurora borealis is going to be at its best, and just wait until I can see it in its glory.
Nice.
Because you can't predict it. So saying I'm going to go there for 2 weeks and I'm going to see this, you could make the trip 10 times and miss it every time. I want to be able to go for the duration of a winter and stay and see it and maybe see it several times.
Nice.
That is a great look. That's a wonderful bucket list, and all of those things I would not bark at by visiting. It's definitely something I love. The aurora borealis, the whole idea from that, as soon as you started talking about the night sky, it pops in my brain, man, thinking about either movies or just seeing it in books and stuff as a kid. I was thinking of what is it, Walter Mitty, when he goes out to Iceland, that movie, yeah. But I mean, there's
movie,
so many.
By the way,
what's that?
Great movie, by the way.
Oh, it's a great movie. Great movie.
So good.
But that obviously a European tour is on our books. We might have to go all together. And the idea of finishing out the States, I feel that's something that, gosh, I've loved that idea. So the Galapagos Islands, though, I kind of forgot about that. And I remember, the turtles. There's the big turtles are over there and stuff. And
I like turtles.
All right, man. Well, Rushmore Show, this is another great episode. We're coming to the end. Vacation destinations. Tell us in the comments, what's your favorite place you've been to, and what's the best place or the bucket list of places you want to go. We can all dream, so there's great places. It'd be nice to hear if you want to go to some of the similar places as us, but remind us of some of the other amazing spots all around the world. There's so many amazing places. And maybe it's a mission trip. That'd be really cool. I'd love to hear about some mission trips and organizations that are going out and doing the Lord's work in these places. But I mean, it's been a great episode, Andy. What you thinking?
Yeah, man, it's been so much fun. Look, what I would also like, Rushmore community, if we mention a place in our bucket list that you've been to, let us
there you go.
Talk to us about it. Tell us, no, you don't want to go there, or yes,
Who's been to Galapagos? Who's been to Galapagos?
Right, we've got to have some Galapagalians.
Tell me why Russia would be a better choice.
Yeah, right. So, but yeah, it's a great thing to dream about traveling the world and even the United States here. So such an awesome show. Almost done with our summer month here. So
one more left. We got Randy on deck. He's been a fan from the beginning, one of our favorites, and we're doing this one just for him. So what we're gonna do summer treats, like sweet treats. So it's going to be fun.
Yes, absolutely.
Andy, you got anything else to say to our friends before we head on out?
Well, you know what? Just like you said, like, subscribe, share, do all that stuff, comment down below. So we end this show just like we always do by saying, this is the Rushmore Show, where it's all about your top 4
and nothing more, brother.
Peace.